Patrice, a witness, is now with us as well. Patrice, thank you for taking time to talk to us. We're glad that you are safe. Let us know where you were and what happened.
Right. So my family and I were on our way out of the park, and we decided to stop to get a sandwich at one of the barbecue vendors. And as I'm standing there to get a sandwich, we heard some shots, but it sounded like it was firecrackers at first. But then it got very loud. The shots got very, very loud, and so that's when we knew that something was wrong. And the vendor that was getting ready to serve me, she actually said, "Get down. That's gunfire. There's a shooter." So we were ducking down, and at that point, instead of me hitting the ground, I picked up my 4-year-old daughter and decided to run. And so I ran between the two vendors, and I ran and I seen a trailer. And inside the trailer were some other vendors, and I just jumped in the trailer with those vendors, and my husband followed. But I had 2 other children that were with me, my 19-year-old and my 15-year-old that went in a completely different area. They ran outside of the park. And so anyway, we were inside the trailer, and as we were in there, we heard about 40 rounds. And so we stayed in the trailer. We were screaming. We were praying. We were doing everything. And so it stopped. So we thought after a while it had stopped, it was safe to come out. As soon as we tried to come out of the trailer, there were more rounds fired. So we went right back into the trailer, and we stayed there until it absolutely stopped. Once it stopped again, we get out of the trailer. I go outside of the trailer, and there was a guy standing there, one of the vendors, and he said, "Ma'am, you have a 4-year-old baby, the girl right there. Please turn around and don't let her see this. There's a little boy coming. I don't want you to see it." But I couldn't turn away, but I turned my baby girl away. And as I'm looking, I see a baby boy that's about the same age as my daughter coming up, and the parents was holding and screaming him, and he had blood just pouring out the side of his head.
Awful.
And so
I'm sorry. You're so brave to talk to us. What a horrific thing to witness as a mom. I'm sorry, Patrice. Are you okay?
And then there was another one. And then the guy said, "Please turn away again, because there's a guy that's dragging someone." And the person was just lifeless that they were dragging, that was shot as well. And so I couldn't do anything. I was just frozen, just standing there seeing this. And then so my husband at that time got my attention and said, "Come on, we got to go. We got to get out of here. We got to start making our way out of here." But we just didn't know where to go.
Right.
Just didn't know. We were just out here. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know where the shooter was at. So I was telling my husband, "Are we going to run into the shooter? Where do we go? Where do we turn?"
Right.
I don't know where to go. And so he kind of guided us. And if it wasn't for my husband who guided me out of that park and guided us to a safe area, I don't know what would have happened.
So brave of him. So brave. How long would you say this all lasted, from when you first heard those first gunshots until you were finally able to get out to safety? How much time passed?
It was about 15 minutes.
Oh, my goodness.
It was about 15 minutes, a good 15 minutes, because this happened about 5:30 when the shooting started. I text my family, which is on a group text. I text everyone and said, "There's an active shooter, pray." So my family was like, "What?" And they just said praying, and so they just started praying. Every text message after that saying pray, and we're praying for you. And my family didn't know what to do. They're asking questions that I couldn't even answer.
Right. Did you get in touch with your other 2 children? When were you reunited with them?
Finally, after this had calmed down, I think about 5 minutes after the first shooting, my husband received a call from my 15-year-old saying, "Daddy, are you guys okay?" Mm-hmm. And they wanted to know where we were at, and I wanted to know, where are they?
Yeah.
Right.
Patrice, where did you finally reunite with them? Do you remember the parking lot or the school or where you were?
We had them to Uber. We told them was frozen, so my husband was doing everything. And he said to Uber to the Gilroy outlets and wait for us there. And that's what they did. They went to the jelly bean factory there, and they waited until we can get an Uber to meet them where they were at, because they found an Uber and got to where they needed to be, and they had to wait for us for a good 45 minutes before we can even get to them, because we were stranded out in a lot that we didn't know, or in a city that we didn't know anything about.
Right.
We didn't know where to go, so we're walking just out here trying to get to a safe place, trying to find the police where we could be safe. And they just kept telling us to just walk, you're on the safe road, just walk. And so we continued on a path that we thought were safe, and obviously it was, because we were okay. And so we stood in front of a house to wait for an Uber to come and get us, and we stood there for about 20 minutes before the Uber can get through to get us out of there, to get us to our car so that we can get to the outlets to get our children. And so we all was reunited.
We're so happy that you're safe. You must be so grateful.
Yes, I am.
Patrice, thank you for your time. And you mentioned that family group chat, which a lot of us have, and a lot of prayers were answered for you and your family tonight, and a lot of other people who were able to get out safely from that shooting. Thank you, Patrice, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy this night with your husband and your sons, and cherish every moment. We appreciate your time. That is Patrice, just one of the witnesses that are telling us just the terror that went through this afternoon.
15 minutes of terror, she described.
And
completely solid 15 minutes of terror.
And to be separated from your sons or your friends or family, it doesn't matter who, to be separated and not know where to go. She's not from Gilroy. She's unfamiliar with the town. So many people at this festival aren't from Gilroy. They're coming from all over the Bay Area, all over the Central Valley, and down south for one of our cultural icons here in terms of events.
I think one of the things you keep hearing people say is you just don't expect something like this is going to happen. You hear it over and over again. I froze. I didn't know what to do. It was her husband who figured out what to do, but we kept hearing it from all the witnesses, because the reality is, even though we hear this all the time, you never think it's going to be you. You never think, when you covered it in Las Vegas, how many times did you hear people say to you, at first we thought it was firecrackers, and then all of a sudden that panic set